tell us about you, because the Drifters were already a success story.
Yes.
And they had a lead singer.
Yes, they did.
And then you came on board.
Yes, they did. When I came on board, I replaced the number one voice of the Drifters, Mr. Johnny Moore.
Woke up in the car, look over and say, who's this guy here? I said, boy, that's your replacement.
The members of the Drifters were once set to take over the world, but their story turned out to be tragic and sad. Their downfall began when their manager took full control of the group's lineup and money. After that, members were getting fired left and right, even just for asking for better pay.
Clyde was overseas, so he knew David was back there performing. He knew, obviously.
Well, but he didn't know David was going to be the one to take his place. He didn't know that.
On top of that, many of the members struggled with alcohol and drug problems, with one even dying from an overdose. Fans were left wondering what could have been. Let's dive in. Many people think of the Drifters and picture Clyde McPhatter, even though he was only with the group for 1 year.
If I know you'll be there.
Before that, Clyde was the lead tenor for a group called Billy Ward and his Dominoes.
Clyde McPhatter was a member of the Dominoes, Billy Ward and the Dominoes. But when his contract ended, Clyde wanted to start his own group. And that was right up at Atlantic recording line because they was waiting for Clyde.
He sang with them for 3 years, starting in 1950. Clyde had a very high-pitched voice, and that voice helped the Dominoes become very popular. People loved the way he sang. His voice was different and full of emotion. Because of his voice, many fans believed the Dominoes were special. In 1953, a man named Ahmet Ertegun from Atlantic Records went to see the Dominoes perform live at a club called Birdland. He wanted to hear Clyde sing. But when he got there, he noticed Clyde was missing. Ahmet was shocked and left the club right away. He started going from one bar to another, searching for Clyde. He finally found him in a small rented room. That same night, Ahmet and Clyde made a deal. Clyde would leave the Dominoes and form a new group. That new group was called the Drifters. Clyde wanted his new group to have a gospel sound, but also sing songs that people could dance to. His first idea was to bring in singers he knew from his church group, the Mount Lebanon Singers. He chose William Chick Anderson, Charlie White, David Little Dave Bowen, David Baldwin, who was also the brother of writer James Baldwin, and James Wrinkle Johnson. They tried recording 4 songs together on June 29, 1953. But after listening to them, Ahmet Ertegun felt the group didn't sound right together. So, Clyde had to find new members. The next group Clyde put together had Bill Pinkney, Andrew Thrasher, Gerhard Thrasher, Willie Furby, and Walter Adams.
Well, I didn't actually join the Drifters. We organized the Drifters back in 1953.
Okay.
Clyde McPhatter and the Thrasher brothers, and of course, myself.
These men came from gospel groups too, and they blended well. This group recorded the hit song Money Honey in September 1953. On the record label it said Clyde McPhatter and the Drifters. Before this, not many people knew Clyde's name. Some even thought he was Billy Ward's brother, or thought Billy did all the singing. The song Lucille, written by Clyde, was on the other side of the Money Honey record.
When I woke up this morning, Lucille had...
This made the record special, because each side had songs from different groups using the same name. Money Honey became a big hit and made the Drifters famous overnight.
So little David woke up in the car, look over and say, who's this guy here? I said, boy, that's your replacement.
After Furby was hurt in an accident, he had to leave the group. This caused a big change in the Drifters. Instead of replacing him with someone new, the group moved around the parts that each member sang. Gerhard Thrasher, who used to sing another part, moved up to sing first tenor. Andrew Thrasher changed his part and started singing baritone. Bill Pinkney, who had a different role before, began singing bass. These changes helped the group stay together and keep making music. Even without Furby, they found a way to keep going strong and work as a team. After that, more changes happened when group member Clyde McPhatter received a draft letter in March 1954. He had to join the military. He was sent to Buffalo, New York, but he still stayed with the group for a short time. Even though he was in the Army, he found ways to record with the Drifters when he could. One of the last songs he recorded with them was What You Gonna Do.
What you gonna do about a half-past 8?
That song was actually recorded in 1954, but didn't come out until 1955. It ended up being his last song as a member of the group. During his final time with the Drifters, he also recorded a solo song called Everyone's Laughing.
But since you're gone, everyone's laughing out loud.
With a B-side called Hot Ziggity.
Baby, when I hear you shout, hot ziggity, ziggity, zam.
When Clyde McPhatter left the group, he wanted to make sure he got paid well. In his last group, the Dominoes, he felt he didn't get the money he deserved. So this time, he asked for a big share of the profits.
And Clyde was overseas, so he knew David was back there performing. He knew, obviously.
Well, but he didn't know David was going to be the one to take his place. He didn't know that.
But when he left the Drifters, he didn't make sure the next singer would get the same deal. Instead, he sold his part of the group to their manager, George Treadwell. Treadwell was also a former jazz trumpet player and the husband of famous singer Sarah Vaughan. After buying McPhatter's share, Treadwell became the full owner of the Drifters' name and business. This meant that other group members didn't have much power. They only earned about $100 a week, which was not a lot, even back then. In today's money, that would be about $1,174 a week. McPhatter later said he felt bad about selling his part and not protecting the other singers. After McPhatter left, David Bond joined as the new lead singer. He was actually one of the original Drifters. He had already been singing lead in live shows while McPhatter was in the Army. His voice sounded a lot like McPhatter's, which helped the group keep their sound. But Boggin had problems. He acted in strange ways and was hard to work with. People at Atlantic Records, the company that recorded the group's songs, didn't think he was a good choice. Because of that, Boggin left the Drifters not long after joining. He started his own group called the Harps in 1955. Later, in 1958, he returned to a different version of the Drifters started by Bill Pinkney. Johnny Moore, who used to sing with a group called the Hornets, replaced Boggin. In September 1955, this new version of the Drifters had a big hit. Their song, Adorable, went to #1 on the R&B chart.
Adorable, 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 baby.
The other side of the record, Steamboat, also did well and hit #5.
Oh, steamboat. Woo!
They followed that with more songs, like Ruby Baby in February 1956,
Ruby, Ruby, I want to like a ghost hammer.
and I Gotta Get Myself a Woman.
I got to get myself a woman.
Somewhere, somehow.
But even though the music was doing well, the group members were getting tired. They didn't make much money and worked very hard. Bill Pinkney got tired of the low pay and asked for more money. But instead of giving him a raise, Treadwell fired him. Andrew Thrasher, upset by what happened, also quit. Pinkney then started a new group called the Flyers with singer Bobby Hendricks. The funny thing is, the next year, Hendricks joined the Drifters. After Pinkney left, Tommy Evans took his place as the bass singer. Evans had earlier replaced another singer in the Ravens. Charlie Hughes came in as the new baritone, taking Andrew Thrasher's place. This group, Moore, Evans, Gerhardt Thrasher, and Hughes, made another hit in 1957. It was called Fools Fall in Love and reached #10 on the R&B chart and #69 on the pop chart.
Fools fall in love just like schoolgirls.
Later, both Moore and Hughes were drafted into the military. They were replaced by Bobby Hendricks and Jimmy Milner. By early 1958, the group looked very different. The lineup was Bobby Hendricks on lead vocals, Gerhardt Thrasher as first tenor, Jimmy Milner as baritone, Tommy Evans on bass, and Jimmy Oliver on guitar. This version of the Drifters didn't do as well as before, but they had one small hit. It was Drip Drop, which came out in April 1958 and reached number 58 on the pop chart.
Drip, drip, drippity drop. Well, the room is leaking.
As time went on, the Drifters became less popular. The original members were no longer stars. They had to take small jobs in clubs. Sometimes they even performed using other group names like the Coasters or the Ravens just to get work. By May 1958, things got worse. Hendrix and Oliver both quit. They only came back for 1 week to perform at the Apollo Theater. During that week, something bad happened. One of the group members got into a fight with Ralph Cooper, who ran the famous amateur night at the Apollo. This was the final straw for George Treadwell. He decided to fire the entire group. After that, he hired a new group called the Five Crowns and gave them the name The Drifters. Even though George Treadwell owned the rights to the name The Drifters, many of the original members believed they were the real heart of the group. They felt that they had helped make the music famous and didn't want to give that up. They wanted to keep the group going in their own way. Bill Pinkney was one of the original Drifters. He was the first to leave the group. Later, he won a legal battle and got full ownership of a new name, the Original Drifters. This meant no one else could use that name. He then started touring again with a new group that included the Thrasher Brothers and David Boggin. Over time, other original Drifters came and went from the group. Some new singers also joined, but even though they worked hard, this version of the Drifters never became as famous as the earlier one. David Bowen, who joined Pinkney's group, didn't stay long. He left soon after they started. In 1964, Bobby Lee Hollis came in and took the lead singer's spot. Not long after, Andrew Thrasher left the group and Jimmy Lewis joined. Then Bobby Hendricks, who had been part of the original Drifters, came back. That made the group a five-man team for a short time, but Jimmy Lewis soon left, and Andrew Thrasher returned again, this time replacing Bobby Hollis. Hollis and Bowen still came back now and then during the 1960s, but not full-time. In 1968, the group was made up of Bill Pinkney, Gerhard Thrasher, Bobby Hollis, and Bobby Hendricks. At one point, Pinkney hired a group called The Tears to perform as part of his Drifters group for a short tour. The Tears were Benny Andersson, George Wallace, Albert Fortson, and Mark Williams. After the tour, the Tears continued to perform on their own and used the name The Original Drifters. But Pinkney didn't allow this. He took them to court and won. The judge said they had to stop using the name because it belonged to Pinkney. George Treadwell still had the rights to the original name, The Drifters. In 1958, he had a big problem. He had fired the group, but he still had bookings to fill, like shows at the Apollo Theater. So he went looking for a new group. That summer, he talked to Lover Patterson, who was the manager of the Five Crowns. The Five Crowns had a lead singer named Benjamin Earl Nelson. People later knew him better as Ben E. King. Treadwell made a deal with Patterson to use his singers as the new Drifters. This new Drifters group had Benny King as lead tenor, Charlie Thomas as tenor, Doc Green as baritone, and Ellsbury Hobbs as bass. There was also a fifth member named James Papa Clark, but he had a drinking problem. Because of that, Treadwell decided not to include him. The new group went on tour for about a year, but fans were upset. They knew this group wasn't the same as the original Drifters. Many shows were hard, with some people in the crowd showing anger or not clapping. It wasn't easy for the new singers. Later, when it was time to record music, the main producers, Ahmet Ertegun and Jerry Wexler, were too busy. So they brought in Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller, who had already made hit songs for another group, the Coasters. With these new producers, the Drifters made some of their biggest hits ever. Benny King sang lead on songs like There Goes My Baby, which became one of the first rock and roll songs to use a string orchestra.
There goes my baby. There goes my baby.
That song became a top 10 hit. Then came Dance With Me.
Dance with me. Oh, hold me closer.
This magic moment.
This magic moment.
and the very popular Save the Last Dance for Me, which reached #1 on US charts. After that, they had another hit called I Count the Tears. This period was later seen as the golden age of the Drifters. In 2000, this version of the group was honored in the Vocal Group Hall of Fame under the name Benny King and the Drifters. The award mostly celebrated Benny King, but it also gave credit to the other members like Charlie Thomas. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame also recognized the original Drifters from before 1958. Even though the group was doing well, trouble started again. Lover Patterson, who was helping manage the group on the road, had a fight with Treadwell. Patterson had a contract with Benny King. After the argument, Patterson refused to let King go on tour. That meant King could only record songs, but not sing live with the group. Johnny Lee Williams took over for King during the tours. He sang lead on a song called If You Cry, True Love, which was on the back of the Dance With Me record. Charlie Thomas also helped with the singing on tour, but when the group got to Williams's hometown of Mobile, Alabama, he quit. Williams later died in 2004 at the age of 64. Benny King soon asked Treadwell for a raise and to get a part of the money from record sales. But Treadwell said no, so King left the group and began a solo career that became very successful. Around the same time, Williams also left. The Drifters needed a new lead singer, so they brought in Rudy Lewis, who had sung with a group called the Clara Ward Singers. Rudy Lewis became the new lead and helped the group make more hit songs like Some Kind of Wonderful,
Lord, it's some kind of wonderful. Oh, yeah.
Please Stay,
Don't go.
Please stay.
Up on the Roof,
Drift right into space.
and On Broadway.
They say the girls are something on board.
Clyde had a hard life behind the scenes. He struggled with drinking too much alcohol. This problem started while he was still singing with the Drifters. People around him started to notice that alcohol was changing the way he acted. Sometimes he missed shows or had trouble performing. It became harder for him to do his job. His drinking problem was one of the reasons he left the group. After leaving the Drifters, Clyde tried to have a solo career. He still had talent, and some of his songs were loved by fans. But his drinking problem didn't go away. In fact, it got worse. He used alcohol to try to deal with his pain and problems. This slowly affected his health. Over time, his body became weak. He had trouble taking care of himself, and his singing career started to fade. Sadly, in 1972, Clyde died from heart failure. Doctors said his drinking made his health worse and caused his heart to give out. He was only 39 years old. Many people remember him for his music, but they also feel sad about how alcohol destroyed his life. Benny King was another strong voice from the Drifters. He later became famous for singing the song Stand By Me.
Stand by me, oh, stand.
Ben had great success, but he also faced problems. In his later years, he had health issues. One of those problems was also connected to alcohol. It's not clear when his drinking started, but it became serious over time. His health began to go downhill, and it made his life harder. It affected his ability to work and enjoy his success. Ben died in 2015 when he was 76 years old. So one big problem the Drifters had as a group was gang violence. When they performed in cities like New York, they often had to deal with danger. Many places were still racially segregated back then. This meant that black people and white people could not go to the same places or sit together at shows. These rules caused tension and anger in the crowds. Sometimes, rival gangs would show up at concerts. These gangs didn't come for the music. They came to fight. This made shows scary for the band and their fans. The Drifters were just trying to sing and make people happy, but instead, they often found themselves in the middle of fights. They were sometimes threatened or chased by people who didn't want them performing there. Their tours were risky, especially in places where people didn't want to see a black group succeed. Even when they sang well, they had to worry about their safety. Many times they performed knowing that violence could break out at any moment. One very sad moment for the Drifters came in 1969 when Johnny Moore passed away. He had been an important part of the group. He sang many of their big songs and had a strong, emotional voice. His death shocked fans around the world. Johnny was only 41 years old. People who loved his voice could not believe he was gone so soon. Reports said that he died of heart failure, but his death left a big hole in the group. Another hard time happened during the 1960s, when some members of the group were in a terrible car accident. While this accident was not widely talked about in the news, it was still serious. The crash left several of them badly hurt. Touring during that time was not easy. The roads were not always safe, and cars were not as strong as they are now. Bands like the Drifters had to travel all the time, from city to city, night after night. They would often drive for hours with little rest, trying to make it to their next concert. They were just trying to entertain people and keep their music alive. But this accident showed how dangerous life on the road could be. For some time after the crash, members had to recover from injuries. It was not just painful for them physically, but also emotionally. Some fans didn't even know it happened, but the band felt it deeply. They had to get back on stage even when they were hurting. It was another reminder that being in a famous band was not always as fun and easy as it looked. Rudy Lewis was another talented singer who had been with the Drifters. He joined the group in 1958, replacing Clyde McPhatter. Behind the scenes, Rudy was having a tough time. Like many musicians, he faced problems that others didn't see. Sadly, in 1964, Rudy died from a drug overdose. He was only 27 years old. His death shocked the music world. Some said it was an accidental overdose, but either way, it took away a young man full of talent and dreams. His fellow band members were heartbroken. In the 1970s, the Drifters faced another problem when Charlie Thomas, one of the group's key members, was arrested. Charlie had helped bring the group back to life during the 1960s. But his arrest hurt the group's image. Reports said that he was involved in a violent fight. The full details were not clear, but it caused a big stir in the news. Fans were shocked and confused. Some people started seeing the band in a different light. The story of the Drifters was not just about music. It was also about pain, loss, and survival. They had to face many hard moments that most people never knew about. From gang violence to car crashes to losing beloved members, their journey was full of ups and downs. But through it all, they kept singing. Their voices, full of emotion, carried the weight of everything they went through. Their music made people feel love, joy, and even sadness. And even today, their songs still play, reminding us of the strong men who sang through the storms and never gave up.